Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dances with Wolves podcast. Oh my, is there a witch on this podcast today? In case you haven't noticed, the sign says the witches take over. Oh yeah, we got some stuff going on tonight. It is the witches taking over. And by the witches, I mean, first of all, me, Lady Shia, I'm taking over. I'm coming in. I'm having a little fun. I'm doing a little bit of thing. And then later, we're going to get the vampire witch, Heather Salome. Freaking love her. She's going to get on and we're going to have a good time with it. So we're going to tear some stuff up in here. Now, where is the wolf? Well, he is in the other room recovering because he got the bug. He got the Rona. And he is recovering from it. So we are kind of dancing through. And as he dances through his thing, I am dancing through his podcast. So yes, we are dancing with wolves and witches today. Because the witches are taking over. Now, of course, I do have to kind of keep things a little bit along the lines of things that he would appreciate. So just because, you know, this is his podcast, we have to put this on here.
The following program contains coarse language, a lot like real life. Viewer discretion is advised.
So, yes, I can just be just about as crazy sometimes, if not a little bit more. So, depending on the day, Wolf constantly goes, cheeky witch. Yes, I am cheeky. So, we're going to get a little bit of cheekiness, a little bit of magic, and a little bit of, you know, Yuletide witchy takeover stuff going on here. So, I did want to take some time out to talk about some awesome people that are in our lives. And of course, one of the very first things, let me scroll down here. He's got his promo thing set up a little bit different. One of the very first things that I want to talk about are my dear friends, Lily and Nona. Okay. They are phenomenal. You gave many things today. You were given $400 crafting machine, a stereo for your car, and free bricks. Wow. And that's awesome. Queen of Random. But, yeah, I want to talk about my Lily and Nona's, my best friends. I'll tell you what, you want to talk about some powerful and amazing and wonderful women. I cannot tell you how much I love these women, truly, in my life. I would be lost without them. They are my best friends in the whole freaking world. We spend lots of great, wonderful and amazing time together, and I am just ever so happy. You know what? I noticed that Wolf does not have the instrumentals going, and I'm just gonna keep some music going in the background because I'm used to having some music, you know, and he can do not music, but I like music, so I'm gonna have just a little bit of background music going on there. That makes me happy. Yes, I can hear it. Okay, there we go. All right, so now that my voice is set to music, it makes me happier. We're going to talk about, good evening, Pauline. How are you, dear? But we're going to talk about Lily and Nona's. And I'll tell you what, they have created in the basement there at the Contini household this creation haven. And that's what I started calling it. Started calling it the Creation Haven. Okay? And let me tell you that the amount of creativity coming out of that space from both Diane and Otivia, aka Lily is known as Lily because she loves her tiger lilies, and Nona, that's my lovely Diane. She is the Italian grandma, so Nonna, like Strega Nonna. Okay, and they create some amazing things. And you know what? I am so happy to actually finally have a chance to show you guys what they do and how they do it and what they sell on Thursday, December 14th at 7 p.m. Same place that you are watching this right now on the Lady Shia and the Old Wolf YouTube, on the Witch Coach Lady Shia Facebook, and on the Old Wolf Music Facebook as well. And we're also going to do it on the Lily and Nona Facebook. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Live holiday extravaganza sale. So you'll have a chance to do your shopping and they will get things sent out to you and hopefully get it to you as quickly as possible so that you can put it under your Christmas tree. So yes, show up here on Facebook Thursday, December 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 6 Texas time. Y'all yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. See, I told you I could cuss once in a while. And so 7 Central or 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Pacific or 5 Mountain and 4 Pacific. And we'll be going for a few hours. And if something doesn't sell, then, you know, you can always ask if something hasn't sold and watch it afterwards if you can't catch it live. Is it live or is it Lillian Nona's? Also wanted to kind of mention the mentorship circle. This is where I do a lot of my teaching. And one of the things that I've been doing on my teaching is, oh my gosh, a narcissism masterclass, because there's a lot of narcissism out there. And we empaths and spiritual types need to learn how to be able to deal with this in a healthy way that is not damaging to us most prominently, but also we don't want to damage the poor little narcissist, because you know what? They're hurting too. Narcissists are people too, even if they're people you want to throat punch. That's okay. Meanwhile, here's a little bit of information about the mentorship circle for you. Are you ready to deepen your spiritual journey? If so, let's take it to the next level together. I'm Lady Shia, psychic, medium, doctor of divinity, and your witch coach with over 36 years of experience in witchcraft. I invite you to the Mystical Mentorship Circle. This is the haven you've been searching for, especially if you're an empath or thirsting for a like-minded community. We learn everything from shadow work, Reiki, runes, tarot, astrology, and even life skills that matter. The best part? You get all of this for only $25 a month. You're not just learning, you're growing alongside a supportive community that understands you. Plus, you get special perks like free monthly readings, discounts on live events, master classes, and personalized mentoring from yours truly, the Witch Coach. Let your journey begin now. Visit ladyshia.com. Now, if for whatever reason that price point happens to be out of your price range, $25 a month is not something you can spend right now. I understand. That's why I have like a lighter version of it, the free version, which is the Witch Coach's Sanctuary Marketplace. And if you want to learn a little bit about witchcraft, magic, and empathy, and protection, and energy, and all that fun stuff, then this is the place to be. Witch Coach's Marketplace, Sanctuary Marketplace, and all you got to do is go into the groups and search the Witch Coach, and you'll find it. The Witch Coach's Sanctuary Marketplace. Lots of free stuff there. There's a compendium there about herbs and crystals and all other kinds. And I'm also putting daily magical tips on there. So pretty cool. Meanwhile, if any of you are here in the local Rochester, greater Rochester area, or anywhere near in Rochester, New York, this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at Mythic Treasures at 1225 Jefferson Road, their new Henrietta location. If you haven't seen it, you need to. Anyway, I will be doing a meditation class, so bring something comfy to sit on and relax. And we're going to do a meditation class and a guided meditation journey. And it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. So you should definitely think about showing up if you're in the local area. And it's everybody's favorite price point, which is free. Okay, so everybody loves free. And of course, also for all of you local yokels, check out, or even if you're not local, that's cool too. Because check out the Music and Magic Show and all the other great programming on Rochester Free Radio, 106.3 FM. The Old Wolf Show is on Monday from 9 p.m. to midnight. And I know they're working on doing another show coming up soon with the guys, Chaos and Mayhem. I think they should call it the Three Stooges, because they're adding Brian in too. So you're going to have Ed, Brian, and the Old Wolf. Frank Capel is going to be on there, and I think we should call it the Three Stooges. He disagrees. I mean, he tries to call me, Lily, and Nona the Three Fates. So for the Three Fates, they're the Three Stooges, right? That's kind of my thought. And of course, if you're not watching from Old Wolf Music, do check him out. I mean, there's some great music and stuff that we have up on the YouTube. It's phenomenal. He puts all of his music out there for you guys for free. All the stuff that you're hearing in the background are instrumentals of things that he's written. All the wonderful stuff that he's done is out there for you to enjoy and listen to, as well as some nice overnight 8-hour meditations and stuff like that too. So you can catch all of that music on our YouTube. All you got to do is search Lady Shia, or you can search The Old Wolf, and it will come up. You'll see it there. Lady Shia and The Old Wolf. Because, you know, where one of us is, you can generally find the other one pretty quick. Now, if you haven't finished your holiday shopping for this year, highly recommend my friends at my friend Ashley Hart at Hart's Creations. She has some awesome simmer pots and stuff that she's been selling, and little gift things. So you might check her out. It might be a little too late to get a custom made dream catcher, but she does have some that she has already made, full of her magic and her intention. Lots of other little things that she has available as well. So go over to Hearts Creations. That's facebook.com/Hearts, HARTS-creations. If you're doing the home version and you're not watching and you're just listening, it is facebook.com/HARTS-creations. So also another place to check for a little bit of Christmas shopping is my friends over at Moonbeams, Bobby and Sherry. They're freaking awesome. They got some amazing stuff. I'm wearing several bracelets from them right now. And of course, our buddy from the Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. If you're in that area and you need a tattoo, this is where you need to go. Under My Skin Tattoo Studio. He's also the founder and president of Under My Skin for Life Foundation. This is somebody who gives back to the community. So if you're not in that area and you're not in the market for a tattoo, that's kind of cool too. But you might check out PapoStickerCompany.com, PAPO stickercompany.com. And you can find some amazing custom creations, patchwork, embroidery, all kinds of wonderful products that Tony offers. So when you support him, when you support any of the people that I've mentioned, you're supporting a dream. You're supporting small businesses, okay? You're supporting some really awesome people. It's not just supporting a corporation, you know? You're actually doing something of value. So please do support the small business, all right? Support the small business, because those are the things that actually make a difference in people's lives. So I'm having fun with the playlist tonight, and I'm going to add in a playlist of the things that I want to play tonight, because normally Wolf's all like, oh, I'm going to play everybody else's music, and we can hear in the background the instrumental for the song that I'm going to play next, which is a song by the name of Demon. Now, I'm always about shadow work, and by the way, more shadow work. And what is shadow work? Shadow work is when we go into our past, and we understand our traumas and our subconsciousnesses and the things that we've kind of been through, and why we act and why we feel the way we act and we feel. So one of the things that the wolf did, hello, Liz, one of the things that the wolf did to kind of work through his shadow work was, you know, to express it through his artistic medium. And his artistic medium is, of course, writing music and playing music. So he expressed a lot of his childhood trauma and childhood kind of his demons into this song called Demons. And if you pay really close attention to the words, you'll see and you'll feel probably a little bit of your own experience with your own demons. All these demons in my head, they'll be with me until I'm dead. We can't get rid of our past traumas, folks, but we can learn to live with them. So I hope you enjoy a little bit of the Old Wolf's version, or his actual song that he wrote to do his shadow work, Demons. yeah, we always have those demons that are going to stay with us no matter what. So we like to, instead of turning around and obsessing about whether we have demons or not and trying to kill and slay our demons, I'd rather make friends with them and have tea. So that being said, hi, Heather. How are you?
Hi, Shire. How are you? I'm good.
Would you
Happy
like
to
some
be
tea?
here with and I brought my demons with me.
Oh, good. Let's sit down and have tea with our demons, shall we?
Yeah. Tea and cookies, and some snuggles, maybe a blanket burrito.
Definitely a blanket burrito with lettuce.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were discussing offline that those burrito blankets that are so cozy looking need like a little lettuce layer in there, so you look like you're literally the meat and the lettuce burrito kind of thing happening.
Yes, it's my little a tortilla blanket with little green fuzzies on the inside.
Yep.
So I could just go into burrito mode.
Absolutely. I mean, it would be so nice to be able to truly hibernate, because right now we're coming towards the very end part of the wheel as far as our witches wheel of the year. As long as we're witches, we're going to talk about witchy shit.
Oh, absolutely.
So the days are getting longer. Does that affect you? Does that seasonal affective disorder, does it get you?
Well, you know what? I have my own like wired brain, like with diagnosis. I'm pretty sure the season hits me hard. Never with the seasonal affective disorder, but I do know plenty of people who need their sun lamp. But it does, I find when I fight the cycle of rest in the winter, that's when I get anxious and depressed and everything. And it's like everything in the world is slowing down to a freeze. As my friend Liz said today, it's pause. It's the moments for pause right now.
Would that be Liz Shuttles?
Schultz? Yes.
Schultz? I never say it right. Yeah, there Schultz. She is. She's on YouTube watching right now, and she says, hi.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
I was talking to her today.
Yes.
So it's the stillness. We're supposed to be paused right now. We're supposed to be still, but modern life doesn't let us. So we have to fight this urge to just hibernate and go out and slave for corporate America.
Yeah. Now, if we look back into like past history and things like that, this would be the time of year where we're spending time indoors, we're canning, we're taking care of the last part of the harvest, and we're doing everything we can for our preservation so that we have food to last us through the winter. If we're looking at the old wheel of the year and the way things happened back in the day.
Yeah. And our natural circadian rhythms and everything, the sun goes down earlier. We get tired earlier and faster because we're supposed to be going to bed earlier, and during those waking hours, supposed to be prepping. But, also this is a time where we're supposed to reflect on the year and figure out what worked and what didn't. Maybe we didn't have enough of a certain harvest or the things we tried didn't work out. So we have to scrap that and come up with new ideas.
Exactly.
So it's that time of pause and reflection. And when you're so busy just trying to make ends meet, there is no reflection. That's why we repeat patterns every year, because it's like we can't get out of the hamster wheel.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the world that I don't know if we can actually trace when this happened, but somewhere along the lines of the Industrial Revolution and along the lines of electricity and electric light and stuff like that, we stopped paying attention to the natural rhythms of the world and started forcing our own agenda on things. And while I feel like, we should turn around and yes, be able to assert our will, I think when we're not paying attention to our body's rhythms and to the rhythm that the world and the lights and the cycles and stuff, that we're doing ourselves a disservice and stressing ourselves out even more. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's kind of like from the dawn of agricultural revolution. So when we decided instead of hunting and gathering, we're going to go to agriculture. Because then we don't have to move so much, it'll be easier. And then we're like, look at us, we are the gods of the earth, and we can control nature now. And then it became man's will and dominion over natural things. And therefore, this is what I talk about with Wolf a lot, is that othering of us versus them, and them being that it became not just people that didn't fit their idea of what was right or moral or good, but also nature and how we are distanced because we are superior, we are separate, and we were given this. This was a gift for us because we were meant to till the land or whatever. So we're dominating it, including, our natural cycles of.
And while I don't disagree that we shouldn't assert our will and that we shouldn't at least dominate and have agricultural cycles and things of that nature, I always believe in an equal exchange of energy. And I think somewhere along the lines, we lost that. We lost giving back to the land. We lost giving back even to ourselves or to our families. And we're just all about drive, go, 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 deploy, deploy, deploy all the time.
Yeah, well, that was where, because of that othering, instead of, working with nature and, making ourselves comfortable, where maybe we don't want to, maybe we are more nocturnal. There's bunches of people that are like, I don't sleep well at night. I fall asleep as soon as the sun comes up. And there was reasons for that. Those people have evolved to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're like, no, this is the right schedule. So your circadian rhythm is got to match everybody else's, or, heating and cooling and keeping people safe and, clean water and all this stuff. That's all that technology is. Yes, it was a assertion of a dominion over nature. And I think that it's all very necessary, but there is a place for that in seeing ourselves as part of nature instead of dominating it. It's more like we're supposed to work with it.
We could find a more sustainable way to do this than we are right now. And the constant forcing of ourselves. Like, for example, you're a mother. How much would it have done for you to have a nice laying in after giving birth, of having a community of women coming along to help you and let you actually stay in bed for maybe even just a week? They used to stay in bed for like a month, but how would that have been after going through 9 months of pregnancy and giving birth? How awesome was that?
It would have been fantastic, although I also am one of those who probably would have lost their damn minds because I need to get up.
But then it would have been your choice.
Yes, but it would have been my choice. And I know that because I was very fortunate in that my husband worked for a company that allowed a type of paternity leave. So he was there.
Oh, nice.
And I was a stay-at-home parent. I left my floral design job and did not go back. So while I was recovering, I had C-section, so I really wasn't allowed to move too much. But the community, because, putting it on me and my husband, just the two of us, was definitely hard.
Yeah.
It does take a village. So having just a community there to come and help, clean the house for a little bit, or, entertain the older kids or anything like that. So having it on these two people who have not slept since this baby was born.
Right. Or since before the baby was born and all the, getting up to the bathroom 5 times a night and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, absolutely. It would have been nice to have that traditional village that came and took care of,
I want to take a minute to actually introduce you or reintroduce you, because you've been on several times with the Wolf and I've gotten to meet you in person, and to know Heather, guys, is to love her. I mean, truly. If you don't, then, well, 1, something's wrong with you. 2, something's wrong with you. 3, something's wrong with you, so that body might just hit the floor, especially after Heather Salome, the vampire witch, gets a hold of you. So for everybody who doesn't know her, this is Heather Salome, the vampire witch. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where that came from and give us a little brief intro, and then we'll kind of go into, I have a topic for you I know you're going to love.
Oh, fantastic. So I am the vampire witch of Saratoga. I was basically, I don't know, I guess you could say born a witch, but like we're all born intuitive and stuff like that. I have my thoughts on that. But I was practicing at age 14 when I got my first tarot deck. I discovered I was awakened at 17 and as a vampire.
Now, when you say awakened as a vampire, can you share with us any of that and what vampire means to you now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a little weird because we have our stories like Anne Rice and Dracula and Nosferatu.
And of course the sparkly idiot.
I wasn't bitten. I wasn't, seduced or anything. Unfortunately, there were no really, really attractive vampires that tried to get me on their side. It kind of more was like I came into contact speaking with one And sometimes that's enough to be like, oh, shoot, the DNA realigns and it goes, this is what you are, and welcome. This is why you've been a jackass for your entire life.
So,
because,
you're not a sanguine vampire, as it is called in the circles. And a sanguine vampire is one who actually drinks and consumes blood. Tell us about your type of vampirism that you were awakened into.
Well, let's just say I'm not one anymore.
Mm.
It's evolved. But
you are not at present a sanguine.
No. I don't need to do that anymore. But, that was kind of like the clumsy way.
Mm-hmm.
I was, because I was young. So I didn't really have much in the way of mentoring at the time, because even though I lived on Long Island, it was like an hour away from Manhattan. That's where the halo was. That's where the club was. That's where the mentors were.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was 17 too, so underage. So I didn't interact with them. So,
I got into the witchcraft stuff underage too. Shh, don't tell anyone.
yeah. So, but I couldn't go meet anybody, strangers, because this was also before the internet was really a regular, dependable thing as well. Because I'm older than Google.
So am I. So
when vampirism to me now, so I abandoned it in my late 20s because the scene people, it was a little rough around the edges. The vampire community in general was kind of in a way of figuring itself out still.
Well, as with any subset community, you're going to have a wide range of people in that subset. Some are going to be genuine in their affectation and who they are, and others are just in there as a bunch of posers.
Right, but and that wasn't really even the thing. It was just some of the there was some rough experiences that were not handled by the people who created it in the way that was exactly the best. But
fair.
I digress, because later on, I also was like, I'm not a child anymore. I must put away childish things when I got married and went to go to get my master's degree and all this stuff. And I'm like, I am not going to do this anymore because I'm serious and I need to be an adult. Which,
adulting
really
is highly underrated. 1 star out of 5. Do not recommend.
Do not recommend, because my mental health went down. My physical health went down because I wasn't feeding anymore. I was just a mess. I became a mess. And it was a long period of time before I put 2 and 2 together when I was like, oh yeah, if I'm really a vampire, I actually really need to actually feed on people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, the energy work and everything like that was what kind of brought me out after postpartum and everything like that. My husband gave me my tarot deck and said, you need this. And he knew before I did. And starting to pick up feeding again, and that's when all the mysterious health problems started to dissipate and go away. And so now I don't need the sanguine so much. Not that it's not I don't condemn it.
It's not a bad thing. It's just something that requires safety and understanding and consent and all that fun stuff, and should be an awareness of what you're getting into.
And that's part of it too. But it's also it's very intimate, and there's a lot involved. And for me, I learned that when I picked up tarot reading again and decided to make it my business, I was doing this extra thing that was actually feeding me. And that's when I discovered I am the bottom feeder. I guess you call. I could say I'm the vampiric sea cucumber because I siphon people's sludge. I only take what is blockages or heaviness, or just needs a little like a bloodletting, but only energetic. So it was something I realized I was doing after so many months of doing it, because people would get up and be like, my knees don't hurt anymore. And I'm like, why do my knees hurt? Or I would have the high and realize I haven't eaten food in like 48 hours because I didn't feel hungry. That was actually what clued me in. But people felt lighter and were able to see their shadow bits without almost all the fear and the guilt and the heaviness in the way. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my vampiric gift. This is just specific to me, because everybody who's in the vampire community or is a living vampire has a different experience, of course, just like witchcraft. I
can personally speak to you and your vampirism. When we were at the Rockin' Oddities, you did this beautiful ritual upstairs, and I was very, very blessed to be a part of it. And I was kind of standing there watching as you were casting the circle. And when you invited people up there, I was just drawn because you have such a magnetic, beautiful energy, and it's just lovely. And during that ritual, you asked for us to give you something to feed on. And you asked for us to write it down on a piece of paper, and I wrote down there grief, anger, and guilt. Okay, because of course, I lost my husband 4 years ago, and that kind of stuff carries forward no matter what. And I'll tell you what, during that, you had us put on blindfolds, and you took that energy and left a transformation and a lightness for those of us who could be able to go forward from that point without carrying so much of the heavy weight of this. So how does that translate to you? How does it feel to you when you take things like grief, anger, and guilt?
So for me, and this is just part of my particular, I guess, gift of how it works, because I know there's other vampires who can't do that without really taking it in and internalizing it and feeling that empath grief and actually having them dragged down. For me, it comes in like, so I don't know if you see auras, if you've seen my aura, you've seen
very much so,
like with the pointy things and the thing. So
it's very spiky.
It's very spiky. So it's almost like I'll get all that grief, and it comes to me not as, it doesn't feel icky to me, which is it's a very weird thing, but I can tell grief, and I can tell rage, and I can tell like that kind of stuff, because it has a different flavor. It's the only way to really describe it. They taste different, but for me, I don't have to really filter it out. I don't have to get rid of it. So what happens is it goes through my system, my energetic body, those ethereal layers, and it's digested. And then, of course, there is energetic byproduct that comes out after. And that's not the ick, because the ick is consumed. It's just energetic byproduct. So, and that is generally what I put into some of my spell work. Some of my charms and talismans that I use for when I can't feed for a really long time. I'll put things, batteries and stuff together. And so it's just kind of comes in, it gets digested through the layers, and then it'll hit those core chakra things.
Now, see, to me, the perfect feeding ground for you in my mind would be Walmart. Because I can't even walk in there without getting hit with waves of negative bullshit energy.
Sadness, a lot of sadness, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, I don't know why, but people just tend to dump all their negativity at Walmart. So it's like, I'm going to go get groceries and I'm going to go feed, okay?
Yeah, I can't do the Walmart. Walmart, I get that. I do. It's just...
I don't go in, I send the wolf.
I can't. Yeah, I just, I would not want to, because also I really don't like shopping centers.
I don't blame you. I have very, very rarely met any kind of sensitive empath of any kind that can deal with major shopping marts and major shopping centers, even malls. For empaths, we have difficulties. I mean, I can deal with malls to a point, but I go in and I go up so heavily shielded, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and that's where if I tried to just go in and feed off of that, because of the amount of sadness and anger and the struggles, it's kind of the empath human part of me gets hit more hard than the vampire side. So that's why I usually only do the feeding in readings, concerts, big events that don't require consent, because I'm only taking off the top,
right?
And things like that. But it's also because I feel like it tastes better because I also it's chef prepared instead of just fast food. Right, and it doesn't give me a tummy ache as much.
There you go.
Because also I know I'm helping people doing it, and that's the big part. It's my conscious intent of helping people with my gift, because before I really knew what I was, who I was, and how I worked, there was I had like a secondary adolescence period where I was just like, haha, I'm going to just start drama and see what happens and feed off it.
You know what they say about people who stir the shit pot, though, right? If you stir the shit pot, you gotta lick the spoon.
Yeah, and but I didn't mind licking the spoon, so that was a problem.
Okay, well, some people say shit, other people say chocolate.
I was a bit of I would thrive on drama. I would get into everybody's business. I was the inadvertent asshole. I wasn't total crazy, but I mean, the Colin Robinson and the stereo, if you've seen What We Do in the Shadows, or the trolling kind of thing.
I think we've all had our dark moments like that.
Yeah, and it was just it was because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that's what was happening, and then I just would poke people. And
you poke people, you make them dance, and then you're entertained.
Right, and it's a gift I still have, but I only reserve it for my very favorite people. The ones that really don't like me.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. But that's what we do with our shadows. We learn them, we love them, and then we can send them out. To do their damage to the people who are really, really.
Yeah, that's why we make friends with our demons and have tea with them.
Yes.
But one of the things when we were talking about our shadows and our demons is that we don't necessarily get rid of our traumas. We simply have to learn how to utilize them in a way that is beneficial to us and that we can learn from and we can grow from. Negativity isn't always negative, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's very important to integrate those shadows, recognize those shadows, because they don't go away. It's a lifetime. Anyone who says we can get rid of them is full of it.
Yeah.
And
like those scammers. Here, let me cleanse you of all of your generational curses for $2,015. You too can be curse free today. Send in your money via MoneyGram or money order.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Or, you need to embrace forgiveness for all you've been through. Forgive yourself and move on so you can be free. And it's like, yes, forgiveness of yourself is important, but it's also important to be like, okay, there's a reason I had this darkness in me, and this is why I need to know how to use it. You can't just be like, I forgive you and walk away.
You have a lot of people out there that have a lot of opinions on how people should be handling things, whether they should do it this way or that way. And I'm sure you had to fight a lot of that in finding your own authentic voice, yes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I was going to keep the vampire thing to myself, like most vampires do. Like, there's a lot of us, but not a lot who actually come out and say, I am a vampire witch, or I am a vampire priestess, or I'm a vampire this, because they just don't. Because it's easier just to keep it to ourselves and do what we do.
So you decided instead to pull the Lestat move and just kind of out yourself.
Yeah, remember I said I was an asshat?
Yeah, but you're such a gorgeous and fun and amazing and talented asshat. So you can be the asshat and I'll be the cheeky one.
Awesome. I think it's a good combo. But but it's also because I know there's a need for visibility. There's a need for otherness. There's a need for people to be permitted to be authentic in whatever odd way they want to be. And the best way to do that is not just to help people out of their shells, but to be the person doing it and say, hey, look, I'm still doing it. And it's great. And, you're safe with me. You're safe in this community. Let your freak flag fly as long as it harms none.
There you go.
Right?
So on that mind, I'm going to cut to a track real quick. And again, I'm playing a lot of Wolf's music tonight. I do have some alternate music I'm going to play as well, but I'm going to play the stuff that he normally doesn't play because he doesn't like the ego thing. So I'm going to play another song from Old Wolf music called Keep On Talking. And it's about that that being authentic. And there's a lot of people, if I could understand what they want me to say, I'd tell them to just keep on talking. How about you, Heather? Would you tell them just keep on talking?
Just keep talking.
So I call this one my boundaries anthem. So you guys enjoy, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes after this song with Heather Salome, the Vampire Witch. So yeah, when people decide that they want to tell me how to do shit, that's pretty much what I'm like. Yeah, keep on talking, keep on walking, and I'll play the xylophone on your bones. So you were just saying that brought you back to your childhood there.
Yeah, that little cartoon remind me of the Halloween episodes that would come on.
Yep.
The specials.
I love that a lot of these older cartoons and stuff are coming up as like a public domain now. So that's why the Wolf thought that was a perfect thing for keep on talking. You know, everybody can tell us to do whatever they want, but we're just going to do our thing. Just like these little dancing skeletons are out there doing their thing, right?
Yep. Maybe
so
turn them into a pogo stick.
2 words, Heather, and give me your feeling on these 2 words. However you want to voice this, I'm just going to say these 2 words, and then I'm going to shut up and see what you say, okay? Because it's going to be interesting. My 2 words are toxic positivity. Go.
Yes, toxic positivity. Big pet peeve of mine. I mean, and I'm relatively new to stepping into the spiritual entrepreneur community, but man, was I slapped silly with toxic positivity.
How would you define toxic positivity? How would you define toxic positivity?
Where we have to remain happy and smiley and positive vibes at all costs, because obviously our mindset is what we need to change to bring the good abundance that we're trying to get. Because if you're thinking bad thoughts, that's why you keep getting crap luck and
bullshit.
Yeah,
bullshit. Sorry,
that was positivity, where it's like we just ignore the shadow stuff because that's low vibrational. That's what's bringing in your pain and your trauma and your bad luck. It's because you just can't get out of lack mindset and stop thinking about poor me.
Mm-hmm.
You need to think positive and stay positive, because there was that trend, the lucky girl syndrome.
No, that one I didn't hear. Lucky girl
So
syndrome.
it's very similar. It's basically all the same, different flavors of the same system, which I guess was all based on The Secret, that book.
And then, of course, the Christian version of it, which was going through the Southern, prosperity gospel, or what I call the blab it and grab it. I speak life over this, therefore it's mine. I'm going to blab it and grab it. And that was going around I was in Texas at the time that was really popular, and that's what all the churches were doing down there. Blab it and grab it. I'm going to say that this is mine until it is. And somehow that's magically going to make it. And it's like a twisting of the manifestation principle. So what do you feel like people should be doing instead of toxic positivity?
Well, I think that sometimes we're allowed to get a little shadowy in our feelings, and it's not a bad thing to be pissed off, to be sad, to feel angry, to feel like everyone at some point feels like they're cursed or something. The important thing is to be angry, grieve, get those feelings out, and then start to work on what in those patterns. Why do these patterns keep happening? And it's not to say, well, it's because I obviously can't pick the right partner, or I obviously don't deserve to have a steady job that can, make my bills get paid. It's more like, where am I seeing my fear? Why am I constantly not putting up boundaries? Why am I sitting in this and saying, well, this is as good as it gets? Why am I accepting this? And so it's not necessarily a dismissal. It's a sitting in it, acknowledging that the shit is shit, and saying, well, is there a reason there? Is there something that is underlying? It's almost like we have to be a doctor diagnosing our own shadowy stuff, because it's not always necessarily someone's fault. It's not necessarily you're blocking yourself.
Well said.
But it's always something that can be turned into an action, or a step forward towards where you want to go.
See,
Doesn't matter if it's a big step or a little step.
To me, toxic positivity is like the ultimate gaslighting, because now you're no longer requiring somebody else to come in and gaslighting you. You're actually taking time to gaslight yourself based upon some pseudoscience, pseudo-spiritual principle of, I've got to manifest positive. For example, if, somebody, this happens a lot in some of the healing churches and stuff like that, to where it's like, well, we're going to come in, we're going to lay hands on you to heal you. We're all going to pray for your healing. And if it doesn't work, then it's because you didn't have enough faith.
Right. And that's a big part of it. And it's almost like, toxic positivity, it releases you from accountability, and it takes away your power.
Explain your take on that. I'd love to hear that. Okay. This is a unique take on it. I like this. Okay. Let's go down this road.
So toxic positivity is like, you obviously didn't want it enough, or you obviously didn't have enough belief. That's why these things aren't working out. It's actually disempowering you. It's saying it's not actually, even though it's technically all in your hands, you have to please some external force that decides whether you believed that you were worthy enough to have the thing.
I don't know about you, but I have a lot of days where I don't feel worthy enough.
Right. And so then you feel guilty because you keep doubting your self-worth, because obviously it's all your fault, and you get into that cycle. And then the additional thing is the people who say, well, you have to put out the vibrations to match the higher vibrations of the thing. And it's like, well, that just kind of disempowers a whole bunch of people that may not have enough. I know my spoonies, the immunocompromised, chronic illness warriors.
Yes. And for those who are not familiar with spoon theory, is that you have so many spoons. Healthy people might end up with 20 spoons per day, but somebody who has a chronic illness may only have 3 spoons that day. And once your spoons are used, no more feeding.
Right. Or even neurodivergent people, people with mental illnesses with intrusive thoughts. That's my big pet peeve right there, because I mean, there was someone on TikTok who said, she's like, I just realized that those thoughts that pop into your brain is your intuition. It's like, no, because intrusive thoughts are intrusive thoughts. And they're a disorder of the brain chemistry and chemicals. But so
how does one tell the difference between their intuition and intrusive thoughts, in your opinion, Heather? That's a great one to bring up.
Well, intrusive thoughts, is a diagnosable disorder. So I am not a doctor. I will preface that. I am just a vampire witch.
Yes, everything on here is for entertainment purposes only, and this is our opinion. And if you don't like it, oh well, it's still our opinion. You can have your opinion. We're all happy.
So intrusive thoughts are part of the DSM. They're in there for several different disorders and
Diagnosis and Statistics Manual.
Yeah. So the OCD, anxiety disorders, general, all of those that have those thoughts that pop into your head that sometimes it's like, what if I drive this car off the bridge right now, and seeing like your body smashing through the window. I can speak on this detail because I had them with one of my postpartum depression experiences, and I've had anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder over the course of my life. So I have experience with intrusive thoughts, but they only came in my postpartum. I only had them then, but they are terrifying.
They are.
They sound so real in your head. They sound like something. Oh my gosh.
It makes sense. When you think it makes sense. But part of you is like, somehow this is not the way it's supposed to be. And there's that cognitive dissonance that you have.
Yeah. And then, and they happen, pretty frequently or at triggers for intrusive thoughts. And intuition, at least how I experience it and how it was taught to me, is the thing that goes blip and gone. And it's never going to be something that's harmful.
Right. Exactly.
Never going to be something that tells you to harm yourself or harm somebody else, or
you're not going to hear the neighbor's dog barking and telling you to kill all these other people.
Yes. Now, let's just go on to the what's that name of that franchise and the movie of the kid on the airplane? Final Destination.
Yes, Final Destination, the thing that traumatized every 90s kids ever from keeping them behind a log pickup log carrier.
Yeah, or on an
airplane.
Get on an airplane. So he had the whole flash before he got off the plane, right? So that's the movie version of like intuition or psychicness. And in truth, it can absolutely be experienced like that, but that is the very, 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 very scarce minority of people who ever have those flashes and those kind of very detailed things like that get people off the Titanic or whatever. I don't think they're necessarily intuitive. I think those are actual like external energies saying, we're protecting you. See this thing? This is what's going to happen. You're going to go over here now. Because I know for a lot of intuitive workers, we never see things like that clearly. I mean, we wish we could.
Now, you brought up a really interesting point about mental health and the DSM. Toxic positivity actually works directly against somebody's mental health and seeking help for the mental health. Those who have mental health issues, who are being pushed with toxic positivity, turn that frown upside down, are being invalidated and saying that, hey, you're the cause of your mental health and you shouldn't have to go and seek help for it. It's like somebody walking up to somebody who's depressed and saying, don't be depressed.
Just cheer up. Why don't you just try to be happy?
Yeah.
And yes, and I've experienced that when I was in my deep depression too. People were like, why don't you just, not be sad? Like you have a house, you have parents who care about you. Like, why are you so sad?
Because it doesn't have to make sense.
It's chemistry. It's brain chemistry. And that's the other unfortunate thing. When I said I came into this community and was so lapped silly with toxic positivity, I don't know how many people, and I'm sorry to all of you if you're listening, I've suggested getting a therapist, getting an evaluation, getting some help, and they're like, I'll take your consideration. Like, there's no stigma. It can work both. You can have both. You can do both. You can be a medium or a psychic, and you can be treated by a doctor. You can do both.
Yes.
I promise you. I am one. And they're like, okay. And they're like, I just called this person who did like Reiki from afar, and now I'm all better. And then 3 weeks later, I don't know why I'm in crisis again.
Well, it's like I explain to people when you get energy works like Reiki or something like that, it's like going in for, a nice therapeutic massage. You've been hurting for a long time. Your muscles hurt. You go and you get that nice therapeutic massage and you feel better after that. But if you turn around and go do the things that hurt your muscles again, you're going to need that treatment.
The main issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or you don't address the main issue. It's going to become, it's a chronic issue.
Exactly. Like physical therapy or what have you.
And the only reason I have that perspective now is because of what I do. And I always preface, as I said, sea cucumber, I suck off that ick and eat it.
Yeah.
But it's not permanent. And I always tell people you're going to feel really good for a week. And I know I've had people who said they had so much energy. They felt like they were infused with like all of the vitamins and stuff. And they've gone on cleaning benders and they were like on top of the world. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to feel like that for a while. But if you don't address the things we talked about, it's going to come crashing back.
Yeah, it's the same. So like showers, taking showers is another analogy. You go and you get clean for a little while, and then you're going to eventually dirty back up again. You can't just take an annual bath.
Yeah, I do. Although my kids would probably love that because that's what they want to do.
I'm sure they would until their friends told them they were stinky.
Yeah, or I keep telling them their skin's going to fall off and stuff. They're like, cool, I'll be all gross and creepy. I'm like, those are my boys.
Right? That's great. But again, the toxic positivity is all about gaslighting yourself and invalidating your own feelings. And like you said, we need to have our time to stay in our feelings. We were talking about this offline. Today's the new moon.
Yeah.
So how do you associate? I can talk to you about how I associate with the new moon, but how do you associate with the new moon?
So I usually, the day before the new moon is where I kind of focus most of my energy. That's the moon dark. I'm a balsamic moon baby. I am the dark moon. I am crone energy from birth. Hence why old lady vampire here. It's been a very long time. So I do a lot of dark moon energy stuff, and that is shadow, crossroads, liminal, reflective work. And on the new moon, usually when I first see the first sliver is usually when I start doing the new moony just like stuff, the one that's more about growing things. Mm-hmm. But the shadow work can be done on any time that the sky is dark, because it is the time of, the moon's gone, the light is gone, everything is gone. This is your chance to really, it's almost like nature puts its blindfold on so you can, like I did for the ritual, we can take away that external stimuli so we can really, really see what's going on underneath that surface without having any distractions. So
it's kind of like going into sensory deprivation or like the float tanks. Those are amazing experiences. If y'all have never done that, it's amazing. Yeah.
And then you can really seek some truth in there and gentleness, because I do associate it with, as I said, crone energy, and crone energy is very much grandma, it's not just like the crone on the battlefield. It's crone that's like knitting in her, by her fireplace. So I lean into that energy, because when you're doing shadow work, you need support. You need unconditional love, which is something I didn't really believe in until I discovered shadow work.
So how did shadow work bring you to unconditional love? That sounds like a really cool question right there.
It's a good one, because shadow work was introduced to me by a fellow practicing witch from a group called the Sisters Enchanted, and she had some really interesting exercises for shadow work, and it was the start of me actually realizing that a lot of my anxieties and fears were rooted in something entirely what felt entirely unrelated, but was a lot of childhood stuff. And I was always like, there is no such thing as unconditional love, because in most cases there is no such thing in unconditional love, because we are human beings. Like there is a condition. It doesn't matter how high
it might be a greater condition for some than others. Like,
yes.
Your kid could do something horrible and you'll forgive them, but somebody else might do that same horrible thing and you'll be like, okay, bye.
Right. And also I always use the parent-child example. And because everyone's like, well, you have unconditional love for your children. And I say, no, it's still conditional. And I know that this is really kind of, this is a hot take right now. All right. Because I love my moon to the moon and back. But conditional love. And I'm not even thinking about mine because I would never put myself in these shoes. I couldn't know it unless I lived it. But I think about the stories of the parents that have 2 or 3 kids, and one of them was just born different, and not different in a disability way, different in a like harming animals, likes to see people suffer, takes knives out of the drawers, goes after the siblings, those very severely disturbed individuals that came that way, because there are those. They're very rare, but they are.
They do happen, and people like to say it's nurture or nature, and sometimes it's just that's what their soul is. That's what's in their soul when they were born.
It's just and it's nothing the parents did, because those other kids are okay or anything, and they spend their entire lives trying to fix it until they're finally like, you know what? I can't even say I love this kid anymore. It's just a matter of survival, and that is a condition. That is not unconditional. That is true. And that doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's wrong to take that back. It doesn't mean that having conditions on your love for your kid is wrong. That's where I was going with that.
Gotcha.
Unconditional love is not real between human beings. Like, it can't be done. We could put really like extensive conditions that have to be met, far like unlikely to be met, or like that extreme example. But
my take on unconditional love is I can love you and not like you and not want to be around you, but I can still love you. But I'm going to be loving you from over here, and don't talk to me, please, because I know that you are toxic. Goodbye.
Right, but you're still loving them. But I'm talking about those very extreme cases.
Yes,
and that's where I say that there's conditions on all love.
Well, as the wolf would say, context is everything.
Yes, but that's what conditions are. It's not like So, but unconditional love is real between you and spirit and you, or however you worship, whatever your divine plans are, and what you,
however you relate to the divine.
You can also love yourself unconditionally. That's where your unconditional love is supposed to be. It's supposed to be for the self. Because you're the one who knows you all the way down. You're the one who knows you warts and all. You know what's going on and ticking and all these things, especially if you do your shadow work. And then you have to love all of it.
I agree.
And so I did not believe, as I said, in unconditional love for anything other than, like maybe God loves me, or the goddess loves me. And that can be unconditional because they're not human. But then I realized, as I unpeeled these layers, and I saw that my shadows actually were my gifts, because that's where
I like that. My shadows are my gift. That is beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you. But that's where I became a shadow walker, a shadow worker, is because my shadows were my strength. I am one of those people. There's a few of us, but that willingly walk on that shadowy side. I like to walk on the edge of madness, but that's where I'm comfortable. And
I'm way over that edge.
I just walk on the edge.
I'm older than you, though, so
I go over there, I don't think I'll come back up, because I like it better down the crazy lanes. But I also like showing people what it's like over there, because it's not as bad as you think.
So what is it like over there?
Well, it's easy to get sucked in and want to stay over there, because reality sucks.
Yeah, that it does. I cannot argue. Life is, as the wolf says, life is full of shit sandwiches, and you just got to figure out what you want to dress it up with to make it more palatable.
The sandwiches can talk back, and they probably taste like rainbows, because it's madness.
There you go. Exactly. So yeah, it's a little bit more fun. But you've talked several times, and you've said this several times, about shadow work. And there are some people who are familiar with the concept of shadow work, but for those who don't, how would you explain it? So
I explain it with it's not a big spooky thing. It's not even really, it's part of a witchcraft practice. It's very necessary to your witchcraft practice, but it's a lot of psychology in my mind. It's almost like a therapy take on unpacking your fears, your guilt, your shame, your embarrassment, all of those feelings that we don't like and we try to avoid at any cost, so much so that we actually navigate our lives and make choices based on these fears, these shameful experiences, these things that we were told we weren't good enough, we weren't part of, we shouldn't have been part of, all the shame and unworthiness. So we navigate our lives around these negative aspects instead of navigating our lives around the positive.
Yeah.
And that's where this manifestation part comes in, where it's kind of like, yeah, you're the toxic positivity says you can't integrate this shadow into this because you're bringing the negative vibes in, and that's why you're getting all the negative stuff. But instead of that, it's kind of, no, we're learning how to avoid making decisions out of fear, out of shame, out of guilt.
Yeah.
So when that pops up and says, no, you can't have that, we can be like, wait, oh, no, I know what's happening here. This happened to me when I was a kid, and I was told that this certain thing was not for me. That was for the rich kids over there. That's only for rich people.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, my fear, for trying to protect me from pain, but I don't need you anymore. And I'm going to go after my dreams. And because right now I have enough.
Yes. And that's an important context, that we develop these fears to protect ourselves, but eventually the fears can control us to a point to where we are no longer making the cognitive best decisions for ourselves. We are instead making these decisions based upon our shadows, based upon our fears, and not even recognizing where they're coming from.
Right. And we do it, and we're triggered. We get very triggered by people who are acting in ways where we're
Did I lose you? Yes, I did. Okay. Heather's lost for a second. So it says connecting. So hopefully she'll be back in a second. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times when we're talking about our shadows, I'm going to go ahead and hang up on that and try to get her back a different way. So we're going to try to dial in. Meanwhile, we're going to listen to a little bit of Hollowell. Okay. So enjoy.
Treat the poison, they don't connect.
absolutely adore Hollowell. I was just saying that off the line. You know, Teresa and the guys are just absolutely freaking fantastic. But I did get Heather Salome back, so we are resuming our shadow work conversation. And to kind of reframe us back into it, I was just telling Heather offline, you know, if you do not have a shadow, it's because you're not standing in the light. Your thoughts, my dear?
Absolutely true. And as I said, if you're, like, as you said, keep your face towards the sun and you can't even see your shadow, and then you get sunburn. But you can't figure out where you're going if you don't have an idea of where you've been either. So walking forward without really looking at the shadows, yes, we're supposed to leave the past in the past and move on and make room and all that, but it doesn't mean forgetting it and pretending it doesn't happen. It didn't happen. Oh,
that's a whole nother ball game too.
Yeah.
But we're talking about fear.
Yes. And we were talking about fear and how in my experience, shadow work was a game changer and changed my life, and that's why I love talking about it. And it's how I became what I do and do a lot of shadow work with people. And I was saying that the big one is fear. There's so much fear. The majority of my clients have fear. I have some guilt, some shame, and then I was telling you about the rage, which is very rare too, but there's a couple there, but it's mostly fear. And then I was telling you that I feel like the Archangel Michael in Lucifer.
We love that show, the Lucifer show. And of course, Lucifer's fear, power is he looks at you and he goes, "What do you desire?" But what does Michael do?
He goes, so Michael's is, "What do you truly fear?" And I said, I always feel like that because that's what the essence of a session with me comes down to, except I don't necessarily have the charm or the jawline.
Well, I'll tell you what, as handsome as Lucifer and Michael are, you are drop dead gorgeous, and I think you're prettier than them. So there.
Well, thank you.
And they are pretty men. They are very pretty men.
Very pretty, yeah.
I like my ruggedly handsome as opposed to the pretty boys, but that's just me and my personal preference. Hey. I like rugged.
But yeah, so that's what I feel like when we get to it. What is the fear? Because we were talking about before I was disconnected, it was, how we navigate the idea of shadow work and toxic positivity tells you to ignore that because it's bad vibes and it's going to bring in the bad stuff because you're accepting your bad stuff. And instead it's recognizing when your shadows are actually blocking your way so you can thank them and move forward in the direction you truly want. Because, we find ourselves projecting and triggered and stuff because it's just our own blockages. And moving the shadows into ourselves, and speaking on that fear, learning to not be afraid of fear, not being afraid of, that's where we go, is this sitting in the icky feelings. We've become, it's almost back to this domination of nature, that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, because if we dominate something, we don't have to be afraid of it.
Feeling. Yeah, we can dominate. So if we're so comfortable where we can manipulate the air temperatures to be comfortable ambient temperature. We can manipulate our beds to be softer. We can manipulate our music to please us more. We can manipulate all this stuff. And then why can't we just manipulate our bodies to stop feeling so damn bad? Why do I have to feel scared all the time? Why do I have to feel angry? Why do I have to feel this, that, and the other thing? And it's like, instead of trying to actually understand and integrate it, we're trying to find pills to pop, easy answers, gurus to just tell us that it's not our fault and we just need to try harder and we don't need to do the icky work. We're looking for approval to pass the buck to somebody else so we don't have to feel anything.
I like the baseball analogy. And the baseball analogy is simply this, is if there is a baseball flying at your head, you have a couple of options. One of those options is to close your eyes and ignore it. And if you do, then the baseball is eventually going to hit you in the head. But if you have your eyes open and you see the baseball coming for you, well, you can grab a Heather and stick her in the way because she has a catcher's mitt on and she will catch the bad thing and keep it from hitting you in the head, right?
Yes. And then I will hand it to you and say, look at it. Look at it. Look at it in the face.
So How do you recommend people begin if they're not familiar with the concept of shadow work and they're not familiar with looking at their own feelings? How do you recommend people start dealing with their shadows?
So I always start with getting a basic familiarity.
You sound a little far away, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I was leaning on my hand and I didn't realize I was doing that. So I think a basic familiarity of Jungian archetypes, Carl Jung archetypes and the shadow archetypes.
You just made my heartbeat go pitter patter. Somebody who loves Carl Jung, the master of shadow work. Yes.
Yes. If you're going to do shadow work, it's the most accessible and approachable understanding is to work in archetypes, especially if you like tarot and goddesses, gods, witchcraft, stories like that, because archetypes are easily understood universal truths. They're kind of like a starting point. Granted, that nothing's going to ever be a perfect fit because it's an archetype. It's supposed to be generic, but understanding the archetypes and the shadow archetypes there. But then also start with projection. I always send people off with assignments on projection, which is I don't ask you to name the people that annoy you the most. I always ask people to list the 5 to 10 people they love the most or like the best. And then list their top 3 annoying qualities that just drive them crazy of those people, because it's much easier to be forgiving of people you care about that aren't you, So for example, let's say, for example, let's put my mom on the list. And
okay.
So I love my mom and she's great, but she has this tendency, because she's a boomer, of really not understanding the cost of living these days. And she refuses to acknowledge any facts put in front of her. And I don't understand why she thinks I'm the failure all the time and my brother is such the success when he's like a divorce, that whole thing. So you start doing why is she so stubborn and not see my thing? And why does she have such high expectations of me when there's so much less for my brother or whatever? And then you realize it's just because I have really high expectations on people myself. And it's I see.
So you were kind of generationally conditioned to have those expectations on others the way she has expectations on you?
Well, it's kind of like I put those expectations on myself because I put them unrealistic. Nobody's put them on me other than, her. But that's say from youth, but she still does it. But for some reason, it triggers me so much just because obviously I never turned in and healed that part, even though it was damaged. So my mom and I have healed a lot of stuff. So I just put her out there because she's
she won't
she's
mind.
One of my favorite people. So, but she's come around, but I'm just using her as an example. So, or you could say I have a coworker. Let's say I have a coworker named Cheryl who, why is she so bossy? She always thinks she has to take over every meeting. She's so loud. I really like working with her. She's really fun to work with, but man, those meetings, she just drives me crazy. So that tells you okay, so the question is bossy, loud. So why does it bother you so much?
Maybe because I'm bossy and loud,
or it's because you were taught that anything that you spoke was you being bossy and loud. You conditioned yourself to believe you were bossy and loud and you were able to control it. Unlike this bitch over here who can't.
Yeah.
But it's not about her because you don't control her behavior. It's about you, right?
My favorite.
It's turning it inward and realizing that she's speaking her voice like you're not.
My favorite approach to shadow work to starting is to ask people where they have visceral emotional reactions. And when I'm talking about visceral emotional reactions, I'm talking both positive and negative. I gave an example the other day of ice cream. Okay. How many people, Heather, have you heard of that when they get depressed, they go grab a tub of ice cream and just go start chowing down?
Oh, lots. Yeah, for sure. Almost every single one of them, right?
Right. And when I've done shadow work with people on why are you turning around and grabbing ice cream whenever you're depressed? And many a time you go back far enough in the childhood and they find a memory of one of their happy memories when they were out there and enjoying life and they were with their parents or their siblings or their friends, but people that made them feel good, and they were able to get this nice sweet cold treat on a hot summer day. And it was this wonderful treat and in the middle of having fun and the innocence of childhood. So when we feel down or depressed, we want to kind of get that feel good back. So we go grab us some ice cream. That is a shadow working thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
To understand why something makes us feel better. And then we can decide, oh, I'm spending all my time eating all this freaking ice cream and now I'm 500 pounds. Maybe I'm
obviously filling a void here.
Maybe I should be looking to what I'm trying to compensate for with this feel good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another approach to it. And somebody the other day is like, holy crap, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, I am doing that. I'm compensating for my feel bads with childhood feel goods. And, that's a different way. It's not a fear one, but that is a shadow work kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the other one isn't a fear one either. That's just usually the projection it's the easiest to access for most people because we all know what annoys us with people. And it generally is behaviors that we stuffed down in ourselves and trained ourselves and we don't understand. And our visceral reaction to them being that way is because it's like, why do they get to be like that and I don't?
That is a good point. That's almost that, entitlement, but it's like, this is the way I'd like to be, but they don't get, they didn't have
But
to
I was told I was too much. I was too sensitive or I was too bossy or I was, that wasn't for people like me of what I look like or my gender, but I want to, and then it annoys you when anybody else embodies the things that you were told you wanted to be or you were, but we're told we're not allowed to be.
So doing our shadow work can help us bring us to our authentic self and who we want to be rather than who we were conditioned into.
Absolutely. And the fear ones are tough because that usually has to do with traumatic roots and stuff like that, or where it goes to self-preservation or thought, heavy stuff. So those are usually that the projection one is the easy access, and then you can start digging deeper because sometimes that pulls out those stories and they go deep and deep and deep. You start and sometimes those surface things are just enough to pull the things apart and you go, oh my gosh, how deep does this go? It goes all the way down. Oh my God, it's a bottomless pit. And you go all the way down until you finally hit the bottom, and it's icky and it's gross and it's messy. But you get there and you feel like, and usually, so this is how you feel like shadow work works. Like the moment it works, it's working, is you're going to feel like absolute garbage when you think about these things and you do these things. But you're also going to feel immense release. And it's not relief, it's release. Where that's a good distinction. Finally let this shit go.
Yeah.
And it's because it's almost like I always visualize it because it's almost like a series of knots and tangles and snarls and gnarls and things, and you finally did all the work to untie it, and now you have this nice, clean, unknotted pile of stuff, but you're freaking sitting in a mess of yarn and thread and it's gross and your own snot from crying so much. And that's when you can finally ball it up and throw it in the corner and kick it and rage at it for a bit, because you got to do that too. There's some grief work that needs to be done in there. But then you can pick it up and start rolling it up back nicely, put it on a spool, if you will, and roll it up so it's not tangled anymore. And then it becomes a tool in your wheelhouse, and also something you recognize when it might get tangled again. But the tangle will never be as big as that big mess. It'll be like little knots here and there where you're like, oh, I need to untangle that again. Here's a knot. Yeah, untie it.
I like using the car analogy as well. It's like you go in, you get an overhaul done on your car, and the overhaul is expensive and, like you said, messy, because when you're going and replacing an engine, doing complete overhaul, it's a big job and it's heavy work. Excuse me. But it does not excuse you from later getting your oil changes, getting your tune-ups, and so on and so forth. You still got to keep the maintenance on the car going. It never completely ends, because life has always got some shit sandwiches, right?
Absolutely. And the shadows, and they never go away, whether you do the work or not. You just become better informed in how to deal with them, and they become less of a problem if you actually turn and face them head on instead of just trying to run at the sun.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's one more phrase I'd like to get your opinion on. And from one witch to another witch. And one of the things I've always talked about is I'm not your sunshine, unicorn, farts, and rainbows psychic. Okay, I'm going to tell it like it is. And there's just as much bad out there as there is good. I'm going to try to say it in love. I'm going to try to say it in a good way. But, there's positive and negative to everything, the yin and yang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my comment, and I'd like your thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to just say the comment and then go and let you see what you come up with here. A witch that cannot hex, cannot heal. Go.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought. So I have thoughts. I have so many.
I like thoughts. Thoughts are good.
So I am obviously not all love and light and fluffy bubbly rainbows either, because vampire witch. And
I would have never guessed.
I too believe that one can be a witch without hexing. However, I do believe that the witch should learn the theory and the practices behind the possibility. It's almost like the people who opt out of dissecting the frog still know how to identify the parts of the frog because they get a little picture and the fill-in-the-blank textbook thingy.
Right.
Because they still learn the stuff. They just don't have to do the hands-on part because they're squeamish, don't want to do it against their own belief systems. Totally fine. I do think that you should learn how to do it, even in theory. But I don't think you have to use it in your practice to be a valid,
Well, I'll give you my take on it, and you can tell me what you think of that. Because when you think about cancer, okay, cancer is literally healthy cells. The cancer cells are quite healthy.
Yes.
They're just pervasively growing everywhere and causing havoc in somebody's body. So if you're trying to heal somebody from cancer, you're trying to kill healthy cells. That's the dark magic. So sometimes you got to use the darkness in order to bring about the light. And isn't that exactly what you do? You use the dark side of the magic to bring light.
Right. But I still wouldn't call that hexing. It may be using the same kind of things as hexing to stop the good cells from being bad, their naughty behavior.
Right.
But I don't think you necessarily have to use hexes to heal. I think that knowing how to do them is more like self-preservation and learning your traditions and stuff like that. But in order to heal, I think the only thing you need in order to heal is a willingness to heal and the willingness to do the work. I don't necessarily think
a lot of people don't want to do that work, do they?
Yeah, no. And I think that I've seen a couple of people use hexing, cursing, and stuff in place of doing the work because it was easier and did not go well. Not go well as predicted. But sometimes you get into your practice and it works, because magic works, guys. It does. So you get into default mode and you're like, why would I want to sit in my ick and reflect on this when they're the ones who are doing me wrong, when they're the ones who are the assholes who are flirting with my, spouse or whatever, or they're the ones who are telling on me at work. It's all them, instead of like, maybe your husband's an asshole for flirting back, or maybe you deserve better, and maybe. Or
my favorite phrase: check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah. But sometimes hexing is kind of. I feel like hexing can be something leaned upon, and in my personal practice, it is a last case scenario.
So if somebody has been experiencing toxic positivity from people who are constantly going, oh, don't feel bad. Why are you anxious? You shouldn't feel anxious. Just calm down. You don't need to be depressed. Turn that frown upside down. How would you tell those people how to respond to these toxic positivity pushers? Our TPP, toxic positivity pushers. Come on, Shia, talk. Toxic positivity pushers, yes.
No, honestly, if they are in a place of depression and stuff like that, giving them the responses, I think, is really hard, because in the moment, they're just going to be so over it. I think I would hope that they have somebody that is not doing it, and they'd say to limit their contact with the others. I would rather talk to the people who keep pushing the toxic positivity, because they're the majority out there. And I would say, you guys need to do your shadow work and knock it off.
Preach it, girl. Come on, bring it.
Because you guys, I mean, come on now. Some of those gloopy people that were praying for the ascension and, you know, the higher vibration of the earth and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. All of that shit.
Oh, you mean
all of that shit?
Life is beautiful all the time. No. There's shit in this world. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, so long and thanks for all the fish. One of the things that I tell people to deal with, and if you want to take this and use it in your practice, you're more than welcome to, but if somebody's pushing a toxic positivity vibe on you, you can look at them and say, thank you very much for caring about how I'm feeling. What I really need right now, though, is blank.
Yeah.
And because I'll tell you one of these things and this is the flip side. When you have these pushers, whether it be the proselytization people or the toxic positivity pushers, when you have these people who are pushing their viewpoint on you of, you know, hey, be better. Hey, give your soul to God. Hey, just smile. Turn that frown
I always
upside down.
advise sarcasm for that shit. That's my go-to. I'm like, you just give them sarcasm and or you know, have the day they deserve. You just say thank you and have the day you deserve, and you go on your merry way about that shit. But you know, when you're in the thick of it, if you're in like a depression or anxiety and these people are just trying to, I don't even know, save you from whatever, it's like
there are times where you have these people in your life that you can't necessarily cut off because they are family members, friends, as you pointed out, people that we may have to work with, and you know,
so the day they deserve.
Yeah. But instead of, you know, sometimes you can be snarky and sometimes that's not just really appropriate. So one of the things to remember is that if somebody's taking the time out to turn around and try to save your soul or try to make you smile or cheer you up or whatever, that this person is taking a genuine interest or at least a semi-genuine interest in you and your well-being. So you've got to, you know, turn around, take a moment and saying, well, why are you trying to help me? And when you get down to it, they try to say, well, I just want you to be better. Okay, well, for me to be better, this is what I really need. And when you give them something positive that they can do, then they'll stop doing the negative that they're doing that's making things worse most of the time. And if they don't, then you know you're around a toxic person.
Yeah, I was going to say that's assuming that the person is receptive to that, because for the most part, the people that I know who are like, well, just be happy are not. Right. They're like, they just want you to fill their need of not bringing the group down or bringing the people down because you have a sad face. It's like, it's the men that say, you should really smile more. I bet you'd look pretty if you smile.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game. But
but that's like trying to say anything like that to somebody in the fogs of depression. That's what it feels like.
It does. And it's very dismissive when somebody turns around and does that toxic.
And that's why I always tell them, like, you could just put the headphones back on and flip them off in your head.
Yep.
And maybe they'll get the picture and leave you alone.
And you bring up a good point to when they are selfishly motivated when they're talking to you because they're not wanting you to bring down the vibe of the room or whatever, then there's nothing that you can do to change those selfishly motivated individuals. Your best bet is just to at least put up some emotional walls or actual walls if you can.
Yeah, and some distance and
100 miles, 1,000 miles, whatever.
Like to the HR department.
Yeah.
Continue work.
I like that one. But I think it's really important that people acknowledge that darkness is important. Like there's this place in Ireland, or not in Ireland, in Greenland, sorry. There's this area in Greenland or Iceland, one of the two. Yeah, it's in Greenland, I think. That is frequently has like a month or 2 months where there's complete sun. There's no nighttime.
Mhm.
And those people there are so miserable and have to blackout curtain and everything. In Alaska, there's 30 days of day and 30 days of night. Great movie, by the way, 30 Days of Night. It's one of the few vampire movies where the vampires don't play with their food. That's vampires are always in these movies and they're playing with their food. And in 30 Days of Night, these vampires are just like, no, we're fucking hungry. We're going to fucking eat. And you can run. That's great. I'm not toying with you. I'm not trying to have sex with you. I'm just trying to catch you for a meal. So will you please stay still? So I can
really,
eat.
really freaking hungry. What happened?
Yeah, this is our 1 month where we get to
We're
feed.
more like cats, though. Honestly, most of us. I mean, you saw it at the event that one.
Oh, absolutely. The Rockin' Oddities.
Yeah, stop playing with your food, Heather. Like, no.
It's half the fun. Meow. But yeah, that's but there those people who are experiencing those times of all night and no day, and those times of all day and no night, their biorhythms get messed up. So it's important for us to have darkness and rest and restore time in our life just as much as it is important to have the daylight. And right now we got a lot of darkness and not a whole lot of daylight. But like you said, this is the time of year that we're supposed to be kind of resting and restoring a little bit.
Yeah, and reflecting on everything that's come before and planning for what's coming next, but like just in a very cozy hibernation type of way. And it's really hard to get motivated about anything other than that tortilla blanket and some being a blanket burrito.
Now, as a vampire witch, are there any traditions or things that you enjoy specifically that are a little bit more towards the darkness this time of year? Or are there any traditions, Yule traditions or solstice traditions that you'd like to share with us? Since we're coming to that point of the year.
Well, so I think more our holidays, more Samhain, and really that's...
For those that don't know, Samhain is the other name, the Gaelic name for Halloween.
Yes. Halloween, yes. And I mean, we have the other. We do a winter solstice, and we do the Wheel of the Year, like in a traditional sense. They have different names for it, but in my house, we do like the traditional Celtic Wheel of the Year. So our Yule practice involves a very crappy Yule log cake, like the ones with the artificial filling.
Who cares as long as it tastes good?
Yes, and because I have tried to make one of those roll cakes and never again.
You ever watch that British Baking Championship where they're always trying to roll those cakes? Man,
it's exactly what it's like. It's horrible. It's horrid, and I don't ever wish it on my worst enemy because it's I make them. So we buy those, and so we do Yule. And I'll do the Holly King and the shoot, my brain.
And the Oak King.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have I have a children's book of the story of the passing of the two kings.
Nice.
One to the other. So
for those that are unfamiliar with the lore, you have the Oak King that rules the light part of the year and the Holly King that rules the dark part of the year. So they transfer power. They have a transfer of power between the two.
Yes. So I'll read that. And in my personal practice for the longest night is basically avoiding being taken by the wild hunt.
Okay.
And if you know about the wild hunt, that's because the longest night is actually, the veil is thinner than Halloween.
Yes.
So everything that is on the other side is on this side. Good, bad, ancestors, spooky things, and sometimes they like to get together and hunt humans to eat. But I like to leave offerings in the woods. My woods are very active.
Nice.
And they're friendly. So I plan on leaving a lot of offerings out there, and making.
What kind of things do you leave for offerings?
They like apples. They like they really like the lo mein noodles.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I never thought of lo mein.
They don't like the vegetables that I put out with it for some reason. Those were left behind, but the noodles went, and that was leftover Chinese food. that I put out there, but they also like fragrant things. So like flower offerings or my essential oil blends that I make from my little Mirafor China back there. And dried flowers as well, like fragrant ones, and milk, of course, like any type of milk product.
Yes. Honey, cream and honey is a favorite of the Fae.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I leave out a little whole hodgepodge of things because I basically like listen to what I'm told and what they want. And sometimes it's traditional like honey and cream, but other times it's leftover Chinese food.
Lo mein noodles. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Lo mein noodles. But yeah, so I work with like some of the vampire ancestors, the Stringo Marte, and they're present quite frequently here, and that's a big energy exchange for us, and but that's usually year round, but the veils are thin, so it's easier to do all that. And then we do a traditional Christmas too, because it's easier for the kids and the grandparents to kind of wrap their heads around.
Exactly. So you get to celebrate. So that your kids in your house get 2 holidays, Yule and Christmas.
Yes, and they only get presents on Christmas. We just do traditional stuff on Yule.
And when they get older, can we do Saturnalia? For those that don't know, look it up.
Lupercalia as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. I did a Lupercalia ritual last year. That was also really awesome. It was like there was blood magic involved. It was awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So we do have Odin Claus that comes as well. We have Santa and Odin Claus. Odin Claus always delivers weapons.
Ooh. Well, of course,
so
as we all know, Santa Claus is based off of Odin. Is the father, Norse father.
So they both come. Yeah. So they both come.
I like Odin Claus. I need to make a prayer to Odin Claus for some weaponry, because that sounds like fun.
Yeah, we always get a little arsenal.
That's great.
Yeah, we get it's like Nerf guns was one year. We got a whole Nerf battle set, and then like the foam weapons, like foam boffer weapons, was another year. And the armor. My husband made these big wooden Viking shields with their names and runes on it. One year. So
wow.
Yeah.
I need pictures if you still have them. That sounds great.
Oh, I'm sure I have them somewhere. We haven't figured out what to do this year yet, so I'm really like slacking on it. As I said, I want to just be a burrito. I haven't got.
I'm with you. I want to be a burrito too. Let's go be burritos together, okay? And we'll just watch the world go by. Yeah. Do you have anything?
I got back from England. Just want to be a burrito.
Yes. Now you were going through being a death priestess. What is that?
Yes. So I am actually in training to be in training as a priestess of Avalon. I'm under Morgan Le Fay as our high priestess, and Demi is the founder of the school. But it's a year and 13-month program. We were in the death season, but the death priestess thing is what really kind of called to me, which is funny because I resisted it like crazy, because I'm like, being that a vampire witch, I thought it was a little too on the nose to go into death priestess. I was like, come on now. And they're like, no, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Universe. You're supposed to bring death to the masses and talk about death and dying and how we, need to acknowledge it more and all this stuff. So the retreat was taught by a death priestess, soul midwife, and funeral director. And she's all of these things. And she's she's changing funeral practices over there in England to more environmentally friendly, intimate, traditional, like in the sense that there's these women that come to your house to help you wash the body, and you tell stories and these intimate, beautiful, sacred moments, and bringing them.
And of course, you talked with Wolf before about this, and talking about how it used to be a community event where you would bring the dead person home, and the people would grieve together and clean the body and do it. Death was a community thing. It was part of everyday living. I loved how you were talking about that, by the way. Yes, I was obviously listening.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and it's really important because we've gotten so disconnected from it that we try to deny and fight and pretend it isn't there. That leads to crippling fears, disconnect from our role in nature, our willingness to sacrifice for the greater good, because why should you do that when no one else is going to do that, because we don't see that connection, because death is the great equalizer. It happens to everything on this planet.
Yes.
Including the planet itself eventually, and we tend to be speeding it up. But we're denying, there's so many people denying the death of a planet because they're still denying the death of themselves and the death, that happens in their community, because they don't want to talk about it because it's icky, it's uncomfortable, they're afraid they're going to bring it on faster, and there's a taboo around it. So,
man, that's
even though my
profound.
death work, and that's where my death work, I think, is heading more so than transitioning souls over.
So you're not going to look towards being a death doula.
No, I'm going to do that too.
Okay.
I am. I do have.
I'll tell you, when my husband was dying, and I had a dear friend who was an amazing death doula. Her name was Wendy, and she came in and was a part of his transition, and it really helped me, and it helped him because he was active in talking. He was very good at spirit walking. So he was very active in talking while he was in his coma and stuff like that, about saying what he needed on a spiritual level to, let him go. And she was actually a big help to be there for me and for him as he was transitioning. So I will tell you, that is a very necessitated line of work. And I have since learned how to do it as well.
Yeah, no, I did learn the formal training to do that. And I do plan on using it. It's just in America, the rules and the things around that kind of work is it has to be navigated a little bit. And, it's hard to just put yourself out there as like, hey, are you dying? Do you need a doula? Like, yeah. So I'm still trying to figure that out. I am planning on doing some volunteer work at hospice near me.
Once you get to knowing the people in the hospice, then that can help. But I have an important question that I haven't heard asked that I would like to ask you, and I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot with this one, I think. But I'm wanting to put you on the spot with this one if I could.
Sure.
Is how do you feel like your training in the Priestess of Avalon and the death section of this training of the priestessy, how do you feel that has changed your life personally?
Way to call me out on that one. Oh, well, I definitely came back very different, and it's interesting. So the death portion did require, there was initiatory processes and stuff like that, closed practice, whatever. But the part that I can talk about is the midwifing parts of myself that were dying, that were dying already. It was all about, we talk about, we've all done as witches, possibly have all done like some kind of banishing ritual or binding thing, or getting rid of our negative things that we want to get rid of. Like,
I'd say that's
getting
a fair
rid of
statement.
this in my life.
Most of us have done that, releasing things which no longer serve, so on and so forth. Yes.
Right. We've done that. And to mixed results. Mine were never really fully realized that well, but, and there was an idea that's because those things weren't ready to die yet. And so we had to go in and find something that was actively like blocking us because it was clinging on for dear life because it was dying. And my thing, I needed to midwife to die, this is very personal stuff, but I don't mind sharing.
Well, thank you for opening up in that. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, yeah, I ask people to do it all the time. So if I can't do it myself, it's a bit
fair.
Hypocritical. The thing I had to midwife to die was my role as mother. Because I had so much wrapped up in this traditional motherhood ideal. I was sold that bill of goods of the stay-at-home mom getting to raise their own kids 24/7, sacrificing all self to the betterment of your household and kids and not asking for help, or, not being helped even when you asked for it, because, let's be real, motherhood, parenting, and figuring that shit out is not easy for the father either, especially when they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the office. So
they're your kids now. They're being bad, therefore they're your kids right now.
Yes. Right. Well, we still do that. We still like divvy them up on their behavior. And I said, these are your kids. I'll take the good one. But so midwifing, my role as mother, because when I started this business, it was supposed to be just like a side thing. It was supposed to be a side hustle. It was supposed to be like a little spendy income, whatever, and not really take away too much. And then I said, no, I absolutely have to do this as a job. I have to do this full time. This is what I'm meant to do. I'm not meant to just stay home. And my husband, due to the pandemic and everything, had a remote job and said, absolutely, go for it. And he took over the role of default parent. And that was a really big adjustment. And it was one that I wanted so bad. And yet after I had it, I had so many feelings about it, because I was like, he's doing it wrong. It's not the right way. He doesn't know the kids like I do. Like, what happens if I'm away and something happens and he doesn't know how to call the hospital? This control issue. Mm-hmm. And also now having him being the one, it's like, and then there was a period of time when we were joking about swapping, like he's my wife. Because he was the one who's cleaning, he's the one who's cooking, he's the one who's cleaning up after the kids, getting them on the bus.
I'm getting the Mr. Mom movie vibe from the 80s.
Yeah, and he loved it, and he actually stepped into it and loved it so much that he didn't even realize. And then he had a whole crisis there because he didn't realize how much he missed, and there was about a lot of feels there. But this was the stuff that built up, and when I went to England, I had to let it die, because my role as mother, default parent, traditional, like what that expected of me, had to die.
I think that's beautiful that you guys are redefining the roles based upon your family's biorhythms and not what the world and the universe says. Hey, you need to be this kind of mom, and you need to be that kind of dad.
Because you don't have the dangly bits, therefore you must be the mother.
Exactly.
And it's equally parenting. So when I went there, I had, because I also had the experience of horrible postpartum after my second was born, and a really tough pregnancy with my third, because I think I might have talked about this. My first two, I had recurrent pregnancy loss. I couldn't carry a pregnancy, and we needed IVF. So I had IVF and a frozen embryo for my first two, and we were done. And they told us we couldn't get pregnant on our own. And so we didn't bother with birth control, and less than 2 years later, we got number 3. So I bought 2 and got the third. The universe,
the universe is like 3 is a sacred number. Here you go.
Yes, and he needed to be here, and he's my little Aries Taurus rising. So much fun.
No kidding, Aries Taurus rising.
Yep.
I'll pray for you. I'm an Aries. I get it.
Oh yeah, I'm a Taurus, so I like. He's good, but it's like so I had that. My dark night of the soul was basically the first 2 to 3 years of my middle child's life, and I had a lot of guilt around it, because I had that postpartum where I did not bond with him, and I missed that first year due to just being completely miserable and not breaking out of it, and then trying to breastfeed, and then they wouldn't give you any medication that actually worked while you were breastfeeding,
right?
Because you were breastfeeding, and then it was like the choice of giving up breastfeeding and all that. It was a whole thing.
And that's an important thing, that the world guilts us into behaving the way it wants us to behave, or the way it thinks we should behave.
Yeah. So all of the from the moment I gave up magic, witchcraft, and tarot reading, I was on this path of kind of like spiraling downward. And then I had my firstborn, and it was actually quite easy. But the secondborn, it's the one that kicked my ass and brought all of that shit right to the surface. And he does it to this day. He's my little shadow mirror. He's me. I know it. And he brings it all up. And I had these years go by that just flew by. And I always referred to that period of time as my darkest time, how awful it was. And it sucked so bad, and how awful it was. And I always would say my kid, but at least my kids came out of it. I got my kids out of it as like an after fact, but I didn't really mean it, which is awful to think, because it's like, no, it really sucks so bad. I couldn't even see the gift that really So letting that part of me die allowed me to see the gifts that came out of it, including the good times, the times where I actually held the house together in it because we were broke. We were poor after IVF. Like,
I no doubt that shit's expensive.
Yeah, we were like paychecks away, like a disaster away from losing lots of stuff, including like food and stuff. So like resourcefulness, grit and tenacity and doing hard things, which I still don't believe I can do, and all this stuff. But
you've done them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When midwifing it, it took several days because it was, throwing up a fit and everything. It showed me these beautiful moments that I didn't remember. And because it was dying, it was the only reason I was able to see it was because it was dying.
Wow.
So there was this, so the death part of it dying was a gift. And that's what I'm trying to bring here now is it doesn't necessarily have to be macrocosm. Like, you're going to die, let's make it a gift. It's like, no, you have died thousands of times already. And maybe something or all of these things are still clinging on to you because they're like, don't let me die because you're afraid, or I'm afraid, I don't want to go, I'm not ready to go. You still need me here. And it's actually like, no, you just have to give it what it needs, the hugs, to let it be heard, to let it be acknowledged, to let it be seen as beautiful, because that's what my motherhood needed to be seen as, not something awful and a failure because I couldn't fit that mold, but something beautiful that gave me a gift. And in its death, it saw that I was going to be taken care of by this new version of me. And it means I'm still mother. I'm just mother of my old mold and not of this other.
Now, if somebody wants to get a reading from you, because I know anybody who's, in my opinion anyway, for what it's worth as a witch, and by the way, I would like to personally, as a witch that I hope the people here love and trust, I will give Heather Salome my personal recommendation as she's the real deal, y'all. She's the real shit. Okay, so I sent my best friend, literally one of my best friends, Jessica, who was there at the Rockin' Oddities con with me, because she gets readings from me all the time. I told Jessica, no, do not get a reading from me today. I want you to go over and get a reading from Heather because you need to hear this shit from somebody else. And Heather gave her everything I have been saying for the past year to 2 years to Jessica. And just like, okay, yeah, I see why you sent me to her. Thank you.
Well, sometimes we need that the stranger third party to really like, because, when you're friends, it's almost like, yeah, you're just saying that.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
So you validated
that's why I get my
everything.
readings out of state. So I do the same thing. Even though I love getting readings from people I really like, and I'll still do it. But my twice a year thing is usually someone out of state who doesn't know my personal deets too much, because it's just, you need that third party to pick up on it.
Exactly. So
actually listen.
If anybody's been listening to you and would like to get some transformational work with you, some shadow work, or some a reading or what have you, first of all, what all services do you offer that might be able to be done long distance, and how would they contact you to do so, please?
Oh, so I do Zoom meets. So I do tarot readings, vampire witch readings, because energy is energy. I can do it over the Zoomy thing as well. And
absolutely,
most of the time people actually see it on my Zoom now. This is a new thing. Like, my candles explode, the camera gets all wonky. But yeah, that's new.
No, that I've had that happen quite a bit. I've had my computer shut off in the middle of a Reiki session because the energy was just too intense, and it just went, yeah, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like there'll be smoke on the camera, and I'm not burning incense, and it's like, that's not smoke, that's something else. Hi. Let's say hi to a new friend. But yeah, so I do Zoom meets, and I do hour readings, half-hour readings. I do coaching and mentoring for any type of questions for shadow work, shadow mentoring, or witchcraft. I am thinking of taking in people who have either recently awakened vampires and things like that, just to start pointing them in the right direction, if they should so desire, or anyone who has questions, we do that too. My website is vampire-witch-salome.com, which is really hard to say.
Hold on, I'm going to type it out in the comments here. So vampire-witch, what is it?
Vampire-witch-salome.com. because the other one was taken.
Okay, so vampire-witch-salome.com. I think I typed it in there right, so you'll have to look at it. But yeah, go check her out. She is freaking amazing and freaking awesome. And I want to close off with one particular topic that is going to be the talk of the town starting tomorrow. And by the talk of the town, I mean everybody's going to be bitching, whining, and complaining about it until January 1st at least. It was Freddie's going into Gatorade again tomorrow. Otherwise known as Mercury retrograde starts tomorrow. So what is your take on how people can use the benefits of Mercury retrograde in doing their own shadow work?
So I think you can still hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
I can actually hear you louder and better.
Oh, great, because I closed some stuff on my thing.
Oh,
okay,
there you go.
So Mercury in the Gatorade or in the microwave, I tell my kids. We put it in the microwave.
Yes.
Retrograde is a great time to look back and reflect on anything that has not been working well for you. So, for example, when Mercury goes retrograde, it's about communication and travel and commerce and things like that because it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury going retrograde in Capricorn right now.
I was about to mention the Capricorn.
Yeah, it's in Capricorn, which also happens to be my natal 6th house, which is fantastic.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Me both. Blah, blah, blah. So,
can we say neurotic?
How I made it through this podcast.
Hold on, I'm going to hit a button real quick. That in 6th house right there.
Emotional damage.
Holy hell, that was loud.
I have emotional damage from that.
So anyway, go on. So Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, which is your 6th house.
So it's going to be all about the Benjamins and your work ethic and things like that. So maybe you have not been living up to your potential. Like, you know, you could work harder, but you have excuses. This is mine. This is my shadow work. Or you know that maybe you haven't been the best with your financials and you don't really want to face it. This is the time to actually look under the hood and take a deep breath and be like, how scary can it be? Maybe you have a spending habit that needs to be adjusted and addressed. What void are you trying to fill? That's the shadow work there. So Mercury in the retrograde in Capricorn is about work, money, issues with communication in those areas. Maybe you have someone you're fighting, like a partner you're fighting over with finances, or like work-life balance. Maybe they're working too much, not meeting your needs. So this is all about finding out where your needs are not being met, including by yourself. So
excellent.
Any
well
retrograde
said.
kind of pinpoints. It's always good to look at your chart, see where Mercury is transiting, like where your Capricorn is right now, and also where your Mercury planet is, because in that sign, it can tell you where you're going to have, like, it'll give you the details of what the troubles will probably be like right now. So, for example, if it's in, say, you have a natal Mercury in Taurus in the 10th house, that's mine, then it's probably going to be careers and business-minded stuff. So communicating with people about business ideas and putting yourself out there may be a little difficult right now. So it's time for me to go in and be like, well, what is my big fear around speaking out loud and being visible right now in my career? So that's what I'm planning on doing, my shadow work. And also, why am I so freaking spendy? But I know that's because I'm a Taurus and I like things.
I like things too. Shopping therapy, retail therapy, absolutely. Wish I could do it. Yeah, too broke for that shit. Hello, Diana and David, by the way. I will say also, and I would like to point this out, Heather Salome is an amazing, wonderful, and accomplished witch who is absolutely does wonderful work with everybody. But I want you guys to note that she has talked about, as I have many a time, the things that she's shadow working through. I've talked about many a time the things that I'm shadow working through, and it should be pointed out that none of us is fucking perfect. Even those of us who are out here doing light work, dark work, and every bit of rainbow color work in between. We don't have to have everything perfectly put together. We just have to be aware and constantly working on it, right?
Absolutely. And, anybody you go to who says they've done their work, you probably want to find a new practitioner, because it doesn't go away. And if you stop, you're going to stop growing, and your skills, I'm sure, even if they're very gifted, it will cap out somewhere, and you're going to need to find a new one anyway. So everybody is, in that professional witchcraft, professional spiritual work, should always treat themselves as their own client first and say, like, what do I need right now? Like, what are my needs? Where is my body telling me I have shadows or anything like that? Constant checking in.
So I want to ask one question that I want you to tell any potential spiritual seeker out there your answer to this question. If they are feeling compelled or pulled towards the direction of any kind of magic, spirituality, witchcraft, working with the public as far as using their gifts, that they have been given spiritual gifts, but they just don't feel good enough, what do you say to that person?
I say to that person, then take it slow. You don't have to make the decision right now. But if you feel called to serve the public, it's probably because you are called to serve the public. So I'm sorry. It's one of those, the literary tropes where the hero is like it's the call to adventure. Mm-hmm. This is your call to adventure. So just as most adventures start with like the hero hemming and hawing a little bit, you have to pack your bags, get your maps, do that stuff. Mm-hmm. Do that first. Pack your bags, get your maps, which is basically get your skill set, get your interests done, practice a bit, get comfortable with talking to other people about it, because that's a big one. And not necessarily even doing the readings for other people, because that's a big hurdle, yes, but that's one that can wait a bit. But start with friends and family, acquaintances, and people who you don't know the intimate details of their life, and start doing for them. You don't have to charge at first. In fact, you probably shouldn't, but you can exchange energies, which means if there's nothing else, then take small amounts of money, but, offer a reading in exchange for, I don't know,
buy me a pizza.
Taking notes. Buy you pizza. Yeah. Get a cup of coffee.
Feedback,
making you a cup of tea or making you a snack. I don't know. But do that. And that is how you will get more comfortable and learn your cards and everything like that.
And as you have seen from the two of us crazy witches, you don't have to be fucking perfect. You just you learn along the journey, and you be honest and authentic with who you are and where you're going. Also
be very selective about your training programs.
That sounds like it has a little bit of history between it.
Yeah, well, it's basically like if you, for example, there's a lot of you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get the best and the certificate. You don't need any type of paper to tell you to practice.
Preach it.
I do believe that you can learn. I do it for enrichment, do it for guidance, do it for like accountability to keep yourself like doing the thing. Mm-hmm. But find people you vibe with. So for example, if you want to go into tarot, talk to the person who's either doing the class or hosting it or the school or program. See if you can get either former students or something. Just a little quick email. See if you vibe with their energy.
And if you don't feel like you have to go to that person, because you're not going to vibe with everybody. Not everybody's going to vibe with me. Not everybody's going to vibe with Heather. There will be places where people vibe that other people don't. There's all kinds of different places to look through.
Yeah, and there's price points all over the place, so there's always something to find that you can budget in. So
I think
you don't have to buy the top of the line, and you don't have to stay down at the free. So
I thank you again very much for joining us. We're going to end with a wonderful track done by the Wolf, because like I said, I'm highlighting all of his music tonight, because he never does. He highlights everybody else's, and he has this wonderful track called Eight of Swords. And for those of us who know the Eight of Swords, it's about being stuck, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say your definition of the Eight of Swords would be?
Prison of your own making.
Okay. So this particular track is called Eight of Swords. And so, we want to use our shadow work to get unstuck. So this is a good kind of thought of, hey, are you stuck in an Eight of Swords moment? And if so, how do you get out? So I hope you guys enjoy, and thank you for joining us tonight. Merry meet, merry part, merry mate again. Sign us out, Heather.
Thank you so much. Merry part.
Bye, y'all.
Again.